Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Fault of Horror. This is the EC Archives. This is volume 1 and covers the issues 12 to number 17. And it's obviously paperback. It's the paperback version. It's very nice quality. And total number of pages, about 215, 216 pages. And I'll just quickly run through it. Now, I haven't got the hardback version, so I can't show the difference. I assume it's much the same. But I've got a hardback one here, so you can see the difference. But this, of course, has got a few more pages. I mean, the hardback one obviously is a much more quality, but still, this is absolutely lovely and is still approximately the same size. You can see the size there. Very slight, if any difference. Slightly smaller, maybe. Anyway, very fine difference. But quality is still absolutely first rate. The colours, everything. And there's the contents. So you can see the contents there. Got introduction, forward. Now the introduction I think is about the same in virtually all of them. It's unfortunate. I don't know why they include that. I think it's fine, but I guess people might come, they might not have the other ones, so therefore it's nice to have a little introduction. But of course people come into this probably are EC comic fans already, so probably don't need that, but still it's always nice to have. And you've got a forward. I wish there were a few more. I mean, personally, I wish they would, because it's a very short forward. Not much. I mean, it's still very nice, but it would be nice. I think they could get a whole 50 or 20 or whatever number of people to talk about their memories of the books, the comics when they came out. So you've got the Vault of Horror there, Wax Museum. Always got to have stories in wax museums there. And the illustrated suspense stories. I always loved the way they included that. Illustrated suspense stories. They really were quite obsessed with suspense stories in the thing. I noticed that appears a lot. Portrait in wax. And also you've got the adverts as well. Harmonica music. Sort of fits well with a horror book. But anyway, Fault of Horror, Portrait in Wax. And you've got Johnny Craig. I love Johnny Craig's work. I must admit, always pretty impressive. I love the use there. Look at that. Just the way, all that sort of, as he walks off into the distance, or just walks, whatever, under the light there. But still, absolutely spectacular. The werewolf legend. Now, some of these, for some weird reason, and maybe I just can't see it because I'm not very good, it doesn't say the name. I'm certain, of course, some people turn around and say, immediately that's XYZ. I'm not very good when it comes to the artist, I have to say. So, another one is Suspense Story. They did love that. The Vault of Horror. Horror in the Night. These are my favourites, I must admit. I love the Vault Keeper's Corner. This would, if they took those out, it would be so disappointing. That's the one thing I love about the Marvel Omnibus editions, which is one of the reasons I'm not so keen. Well, I do love them. The Epic collections. I would love it if they included the letters pages as well. Also got, of course, a short story there. Terror Train. And of course, you've got the same sort of series with the Fantagraphics. I think there was one called Terror Train as well. Black and white ones are great. I love Val Fieldstein. The artwork is always unusual. But the colouring, I love the colouring. I know lots of people will hate the colouring. There's a lot of, it's Marmite, as they would say. You know, you either love it or you hate it. But for me, I have no problem whatsoever with the modern colouring. But maybe they could bring out two versions, one with the old style, one with the new, and then people would decide which they prefer. Still, I love this. Always the women always looked much the same in this as well. They always had a certain style of the look. Illustrated suspense stories again. You've got that number one there. You can see again there. You've got that story there. It's coming back. He's coming back from the sea. And some other stories there. And there's lots of great stories. Doctor of Horror. I think that's another one that was saw recently in the Fantagraphic books. Diamond of Death. I don't know how many people actually read these, but I expect Crandall. I love the way they got Crandall as the name of one of the characters there. So I quite often don't read them. I really should sit there and read. Wonder what, that's probably a good, decent story. Again, you've got the book selections, etc. Oh, that's quite good actually. Book selections. Obviously the quite common one, Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, etc. This one, Illustrated Suspense Stories again. We dare you to read. Well, I think we have. A Crypt of Terror. Love the adverts as well. Adverts are always good. Voodoo Vengeance. Great stories. But I'm not going to go through all the stories because, of course, some probably read many of them already. Maybe not. But they're just always great. As I mentioned in previous ones, I'm probably more the science fiction, sort of weird science, weird fantasy ones. I love those stories. And also MD, psychoanalysis, I love those. All those ones, piracy. Not everyone likes those ones, but for me, the horror ones are still good. And I haven't got many of these, so it's nice to get them in this format. And for a reasonable price, which is the key thing. It's a reasonable price for some just great stories. But horror is, I love horror films, but at the same time, yeah, it's another one. Alfred, I love his signature there, always great. I love the way it stretches all the way along. It's really Terror in the Swamp, Voodoo Vendetta. Great title there. Buried Alive, obviously another swamp one there. You've got a swamp story there, big hand there. I'm not certain the artist again for that. And Fitting Punishment, that's quite a big chunk there, isn't it? The way I've done that. Here's a chilling tale concerning, how unusual. The Witch's Cauldron, Escape. And you've got another one, What's an Interesting Ring? Heat, another story. See these ones, weird fantasy. Best in the field. They were, to me, they were the great stories. I just loved those stories. And of course, you've got the stories, Bible books that they were obviously trying to sell at that point. Now, of course, probably pretty collectible. So you got all the way through. I wonder if they'll ever do those. Probably, I suspect never. Be lovely to. Also, there was some of the pre-train ones. I would love to see Dark Horse bring those out. I suspect they won't, but I would love to see them if they did. We obviously got the Modern Love one and also the Gunfighter one. But they're ones done in the Ross Cochrane books already. But I just wonder if all the other ones, be nice to see a few examples released. Maybe a sort of collection of some of the pre-trend ones. That would be great. However, MD, I love the MD one. That was just brilliant. And also Frontline Combat, they were good as well. Horns of Fear. And obviously that's the, I assume, next one coming out. Well, obviously there's Frontline Combat. That's obviously in the hardback edition. That's volume 3. And you've got Horns of Fear, the EC Archives, and volume 1. And that's coming out in November 2021. So not long to wait for that. And then you've got obviously the list of ones at the back. Panic, love Panic. Saddle Justice, that was good as well. Weird Science, Valor, brilliant. Modern Love, brilliant as well. War Against Crime, I enjoyed those ones. Johnny Craig stories, absolutely superb. So this is brilliant. Totally recommended. If you're a fan of EC Comics, which I must admit, EC Comics are just the best. This is definitely a must-have. Of course, if you've got the hardback, you probably think yourself, why buy both? But I expect some people will buy both. Why not? So Vault of Horror, the EC Archives, and this is volume 1. Totally recommended.